Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Milfoil Monday. This is where we go over an invasive or non-invasive species. We go over how it got here, its characteristics, why is it a problem, and of course, you know my favorite segment, can it be bottom buried? This week on Milfoil Monday, we're going over the parrot feather. So, what are its characteristics? Well, it's bright green, and its defining feature is that it actually grows out of the water, up, and can actually resemble little fir trees above the water. It rapidly forms these dense mats of vegetation, making swimming in these areas nearly impossible. Any and all recreation activity can actually drown out because of the invasive parrot feather. Now picture this, you're kayaking along and all of a sudden you see a stream ahead. It's shallow, it's things, but you need to get through it. What are you gonna do? Well, you start to go through it and then you get up it and what do you see? The parrot feather sprouting above the surface, just taking over the entire water column. While the parrot feather is not technically on the noxious weed list, neither the A, B, or C. It is on Washington State's quarantine list, which means it is illegal to buy, sell, trade, or do anything with this plant inside the state. It's actually pretty restrictive when you're added to this quarantine list. It is a big problem because it does disrupt environments and it does look pretty. So where does the parrot feather live? The parrot feather lives in slow moving rivers, ditches, shallow lakes, ponds, and it actually can live in just wet soil. If you have wet soil that sometimes gets submerged and sometimes gets dry, it can actually really likes those environments and thrives pretty heavily. So why is the parrot feather a problem? Well, it's hardy, it's sturdy, can grow almost anywhere. It rapidly overtakes lakes, ditches, streams, or anything shallow with water, blocking any sort of passage for recreation, boat, or even utility. Because it also grows so much in these small areas, it can actually accelerate flooding. If this is like a stormwater retention basin or a shallow ditch or something that's used for catching water, it can overpopulate it and take it over, allowing that water to just go right on up and then become a huge flooding hazard. While the parrot feather can take up all these catch basins for flooding, it can also block streams, not just for people, but for migrating fish as well, and can be detrimental to certain salmon rivers. When the salmon try to get at these streams, the parrot feather has already gotten there and sometimes actually blocks them from their natural breeding grounds, and that's obviously not a good thing. The other thing it can do is it can grow so much that it can actually cause a layer of shade to the bottom of a lake or river that normally wouldn't have some. And why that's a problem is there's this normal cycle of bacteria, different kinds of good algae that circle throughout the lake, and when it grows too much, it can actually harm that, disrupting a huge circle of life that this algae was helping to form. Another video later on what kind of algae that really is. While the plant can prosper in almost any environment, it's predominantly shown to be invasive and to be invading the Pacific Northwest and also the Southeast. So basically, Washington and Florida, those are the two areas that's really intruding. Not entirely sure why it is everywhere else, but why it's not also percolating in between those two areas, but the top left and the bottom right. And for the final, and my favorite segment, can it be bottom buried? No, it can't. It cannot be bottom buried. Because it spreads exclusively through fragmentation, a bottom barrier would not be applicable. Bottom barriers are great for rhizome or light-based methods to block its food, not for fragmentation. It may help control the year-over-year growth, but it will not be an eradication system. This plant's really hard to get rid of, guys. It's almost immune to all known herbicides. We do not have anything on the market that can really kill it using an herbicide. Not that we would ever recommend it. The only real way to get rid of this plant is year after year, continual manual removal, either using a machine or using hand. It has to be well done and the area has to be locked off. Again, it does spread through fragmentation, so expert controlled divers is the way to go for this plant. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you turning into another episode of Milfoil Monday. This week's plant again was the parrot feather. Please don't bring it to Washington State, but also don't bring it to your state. No one wants it. The company is the Lake Defense Force. I am Joe Markman, and I want you guys to have an awesome and milfoil-free day.